Hello, this is Mr. Stansbury. I'm going to take you through the power equations notes. At the end of this, you should be able to say I can solve equations when the variable is squared or cubed. Okay, so let's take a look here. Example 23, solve for the unknown. T squared equals 100. So basically what we're asking ourselves is what times itself is going to give us 100. Okay, so what most people are, what's a really good idea is to say, hey, let's take the square root of both sides, right? Because that square root is going to get rid of that square. So we have t equals, and the square root of 100 is 10, right? Now, problem is that's half the answer. If you take 10 squared, you're going to get 100. But there's also, if you take negative 10 squared, you're also going to get 100. So whenever you're taking the square root of a number or any kind of even powered root, you're going to want to do not just the positive answer, but also the negative answer. So our answer here is going to be plus or minus 10. Okay, so same thing here. B squared equals 49. Let's square root both sides, and we get B equals 7. But again, 7 squared gives us 49, but also negative 7 times negative 7 will also give us 49, so it's plus or minus 7. Okay, r cubed equals 125. So now we're going to want to get rid of the cube, we want to do the cube root. Okay, so we're going to cube both of those. So then that's just going to leave us with r over here. And then what times what times what gives us 125. That one may not be in your right in your memory there, but it's going to be 5 times 5 is 25 times another 5 is 125. So that's going to be 5. Now, 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. Now, if we're to put a negative in front of that, negative 5 times negative 5 is 25, and then you multiply it by another negative, and now you have negative 125, but we want positive 125. So our only answer for this one is going to be 5. So that's, again, when you're doing cube roots or any kind of odd roots. Okay, so square roots, like this here, it's going to be the plus or minus. If it's an odd root, like the cube roots, that's going to be just whatever answer you get out of there. Okay, so this one here, to get rid of that cubed power, we take the cube root of both sides. So that's just going to leave us with r. And then now we say what times what times what is going to give us negative 8. So 2 times 2 times 2 gives us positive 8, so it's going to have to be negative 2. So negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Times another negative 2 is negative 8. And so we get r equals negative 2 for our answer there. Okay? All right, let's look at some few more examples here. Okay, here we go. So solve for the unknown. Z squared plus 6 equals 10. So now we're going to actually have to do a little simplifying first. So let's get the z squared by itself. So let's add 6 to both sides. All right, and we get z squared equals 16. Now we square root. All right, so we get z is square root of 16 is 4, but again, since it's an even, taking the square root, it's going to be plus or minus 4 for our answer there. Okay, same thing over here. Subtract 3 from both sides. We get d squared equals 67. Right, so now we square root both sides. And we get d equals, square root of 67 doesn't simplify down to anything nice, so we just leave it as the square root of 67. But we still have to do plus or minus, because if you take square root of 67 and you square it, you're going to get 67. If you take negative 67, root 67 times negative root 67, you're still going to get 67. Okay? All right. This one here, let's subtract 3 from both sides, and we get x cubed equals 27. And now we're going to cube root both sides. Right, so that's going to just leave us with x here, and then we have to figure out what times what times what gives us 27. That's going to be 3. And again, since it's an odd root, it's just going to be whatever the cube root of this number is. Okay, this one here, subtract 14, and we get x cubed equals negative 50. Okay, and then we're going to cube root both sides. So we get x equals the cube root of negative 50, right? So we've got to do cube root, negative 50. We can't, there's nothing that multiplies together by itself twice to get negative 50. So we just leave it as the cube root of negative 50. Okay? All right, that's all there is for power equations. If you have any further questions, please feel free to ask in class, and I'll be happy to help. Thanks.